morning, Yalapo School. My name is Grace.
And I'm Jimmy. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would everybody please remain standing for a moment of silence?
Good morning, Colonel. Would everyone please raise their right hand and repeat the Burke Pledge with us?
I promise to be accepting, responsible, and kind.
Everyone can now be seated.
Let's go over to our weather center. What's going on outside today, Xavier?
Good morning, everyone. Today is going to be about 37 degrees and mainly cloudy. Back to you, Grace.
Thanks, Xavier. It is now time for our morning announcements. School store is open today, and we have a half day on Friday. Next Friday, the high school carolers are coming to sing, and we have our all-school sing-along in the afternoon. Then it is winter break. Colonel has an important announcement.
Good morning, everyone. Great job to all our PAWS recipients. We are having a special live drawing on Friday. All PAWS names are going into a hat, and 12 names will be drawn for a donut party with Dr. Austen. Good luck to all.
Yesterday we listened to Dr. Austen read the book, What Do You Do with an Idea? Today, two sixth grader friends are going to interview Dr. Austen. Let's take a look.
Good morning, Dr. Austen.
Good morning, Ryan. Good morning, Anaya. How are you two today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for stopping by.
What is critical thinking?
Critical thinking, it's a really complicated and complex topic, so I'm glad you asked. But critical thinking is thinking in sort of a new or novel way about a whole host of different things. It involves problem solving, but it also involves problem finding. And so you're given problems, right, throughout your school day to solve. If you're employing critical or using critical thinking, what you're doing is you're thinking sort of outside of the box. You're thinking about problems in new ways or solving problems in new ways. You're thinking collaboratively with your peers, right? So you get all sort of different perspectives on a problem. And then you're also troubleshooting. Do you know what that is? So critical thinking involves something really important, and it's a really important skill to use and practice, is that if you're thinking about how to do something new or how to solve a problem, you're also thinking, what could go wrong? Or what are errors maybe that I've made in the past or I've seen people make in the past, and could that happen? And if so, how can I avoid making those same errors again? And I could go on and on, because critical thinking is really, it involves so much, but it's such an important skill to learn more about and to practice here in school.
Why is it important for us to use critical thinking here at school?
Okay, well, it's important because when heads of companies that are currently in charge in sort of various companies and businesses throughout the world, not just in the United States, they say that the most important thing that they're looking for when they hire new employees, and you'll at some point be a young person going for a job, is they're looking for people who can not only problem solve, like I said, but also find problems. Because, as you know, much of our technology today can solve those sort of right there problems that, you know, we practice sometimes in school. But to think creatively, to think of things in new ways, to, like I said, look for potential problems or pitfalls or things that may go wrong, that's a skill that is what companies are looking for when they hire young people today. And to just give sort of answers to simple problems is really not helpful, because much of that we can look up on our phone and solve with technology. But to think creatively about how to problem solve and how to make things better in the world is something that we all need to spend more time practicing in school so that we can be prepared for problems that we're going to face out in the world, and especially when we want to make improvements in our world, right? Isn't that what you want to do eventually?
Yeah.
When you end school, you want to go out into the world, you want to be successful, but you also want to make your world a better place. So these critical thinking skills are probably the most important thing you can practice here in school while you're here. The other thing, sorry, I was just looking at that question again. The other thing that we can do to practice it here in school is to work together with each other. Because something, in order to think of things differently or in a new way, often we need new perspectives. And you and Ryan and I might attack the same problem or look for a solution in very different ways. So you can learn more from each other in some instances than you can from textbooks or teachers. Really learning about your different perspectives and growing your own thinking based on others' thinking is a really important part of critical thinking. Do you ever do brainstorming in your class?
Sometimes.
Like you think of a topic, or the teacher will put out an idea and then you brainstorm and you share, you get multiple points of view or ideas.
Yeah, we do that sometimes in the morning.
Okay. So brainstorming is something that all organizations, not just in school, practice. And it's a way to sort of get ideas out on the table quickly and then look at those ideas and sort of pick and choose maybe new ideas that would work or potential solutions that would work, but to do that collaboratively in a very sort of free thinking kind of way. So when you brainstorm in class, that's what you're doing. You're using a component or a part of critical thinking. So that, that's why we always encourage kids to work together and work collaboratively, because not one of us has all the answers or all the skills right now, right? We can learn an awful lot from each other. And eventually when you work, most likely you'll be working with other people. And so learning how to listen to other ideas and learn from others' ideas is a really important skill to practice as well.
Sometimes, like, we were in a group today, and we were reading this article, and we were thinking about the stuff. Well, my group, we read like the first 4 paragraphs, and we kind of thought, a couple of us thought like something was going to happen, and one of us was like, no, I think this is going to happen, and we were kind of going back and forth and seeing what we thought.
That's a brilliant example. That is critical thinking, right? You weren't sure of the answer, but you shared your thoughts, and your thoughts were all different based on your unique sort of background knowledge, right? So you might have learned something from somebody else's thinking. Did you? Did somebody give you like a different way of thinking of?
So, we were reading the article, and Dylan thought like something like the person was going to. There was an article about a person and a wolf on a strand on an iceberg, or like an ice platform, and they had nothing there, and they were fighting for food. And me and Dylan were going back and forth and saying like, if the wolf would kill his owner to survive, or like if I thought the owner was gonna kill the wolf to survive.
And nobody knew exactly what would happen.
Until the end of the story.
Exactly. But you were sharing your ideas based on perhaps other books that you read or personal experiences that you've had. And I'll bet that gentleman on was it an ice?
Yeah.
Huh. I'll bet that gentleman was thinking exactly the same. He was doing a lot of critical thinking too about how to get the food, how to stay safe from the wolf. So that's a great example. Anaya, do you have an example of a time that you've used critical thinking here in school?
Like, we had this math test we had to do, and we had to use critical thinking to solve it, because it was like n equals blank, so we had after that, the rest of them. Very hard.
So an algebra problem, yeah, because those are more sort of abstract questions, and so you'll have to think critically. There's a series of steps that you have to follow to solve them.
But when you get to the end, you can understand it more. You can deal with
So one way to employ critical thinking with math, higher level math, is to do either what we call like an error analysis or to check your work. Checking your work is an example of critical thinking. Well, I know the steps that I'm supposed to use to solve this problem, right? But I've gotten problems like this wrong before, essentially, right? So let me go back and retrace my steps and make sure that I did and followed all the steps that I needed to and did, the computation accurately. Any other examples of critical thinking that you've used here in school that you want to share?
when someone is like hurt on the floor,
Or,
like hurt on like they fell or something.
okay,
You don't want to just pass them.
okay,
You can use critical thinking and think about what you can do for them.
okay.
Like maybe take them down the nurse and put them in the ambulance or something.
Yeah.
Help them out.
Yeah, so if you come across somebody that you think is hurt, you might want to assess the situation a little bit more. Like, how are they hurt? How could I help? What could I say? What should I do, right? You're kind of using all your skills of not only what you know, but also looking at what's going on, right? So you're really being observant, right, of the situation, which is another theme for this month. And how, because I thought that was one of the questions, right, that we talked about. So being observant out on the playground in a situation like that, who around could perhaps help me or help this student? Sort of taking all that in and making those decisions in the moment. That's how being observant can help you think critically.
How can being more observant help us think about critical thinking?
That's what we did. I kind of jumped ahead to that question. I apologize. But that's one example because it seemed like a good way to talk about being observant. But really, any type of critical thinking involves being more observant because it's taking in everything around you into account. And being observant could be just being a better listener, right? It doesn't have to be, seeing things with your eyes. It can also be listening, paying attention to others' points of view, right? But your example of the student who was potentially hurt on the playground is a great example because you want to, like I said, assess the situation. Do you know what that means?
Yeah, it's like not do anything to that person, but to help them instead of doing something else to them.
Yep, excuse me. So taking into account everything that's going on in that moment by being very observant. Before you make sort of a rush decision, you want to, and sometimes that happens very quickly. You might very quickly assess the situation. You see a student hurt, you see maybe nobody's around, you see that, what area of their body is hurt, right? So you make a decision, maybe you should move, help them move, maybe you shouldn't. You might use your words to help you assess, ask them if they're okay, ask them if they need help, those sorts of things. All those things are being observant before you make a critical decision, right, that could help them or further harm them. Like you said, you wouldn't want to move somebody if they were hurt, perhaps if their back was hurt or something serious
Yeah,
like
like if
that.
their leg was hurt, you don't want to get them standing up because they're only on one leg and they could fall again, or they could, if they try to step down, they could hurt their leg. You can two people help them, one person's the other arm, and the next person take them to the side of them.
Yeah. And everything you said is right. And really, it's in some ways a more complex way of problem solving. Because problem solving usually implies that there is, not usually, but often implies that there's one solution. Critical thinking, there's usually more than one solution, and there's many factors involved. So it's a little more complex, it's a little more complicated than straightforward problem solving. And it's why we ask more open-ended questions in schools now, because we want you to be thinking creatively and using your unique thinking and your unique background knowledge to bring something to the table, to bring new thinking to the forefront. And that's exciting. So talk more about it in your class. Make sure you really understand what it is, because it really is sort of a higher level of thinking that you'll continue to practice for as many years as you're in school and then in life.
Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
letting us talk to you.
I hope I didn't go on too much, Mrs. Evans. Thank you. I'm glad you came to talk about this really important topic. We'll talk more about it throughout the month. We'll have more newscasts about it, but be aware of when you're practicing critical thinking too in your class, and maybe you can share examples with your classmates and your teachers. Okay? All right.
Bye.
Bye. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
That's all for our program today. Thanks for listening.
Thanks everyone. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.